Hey, welcome to the Northwest Georgia football preview show, man. We're going to cover 7-4A today, 7 AAA, and we'll hit on 6 AAA a little bit. Joined by Benton Burge, like always. Paul Cabin was going to be here with us tonight, man, but he's just now getting off work. So it's just going to be me and Benton holding the fort down.
Got to hold it down. It's almost time. Within a month.
It's almost time. Yeah, what is it? 4 weeks from today, right? Or tomorrow? I guess tomorrow's Friday, right? I kind of lose my days.
No, tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow is Thursday. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. You do lose your days.
I do.
That's a night shifter for you. It's fine. Trust me. I did the same thing. Yeah, scrimmage games starting 2 weeks from tomorrow. 2 weeks of scrimmage games, and then 4 weeks from tomorrow will be the first game.
All right, man. I guess we'll jump right into it. 7-4A last year, Cedartown Bulldogs. Went on a spectacular run, 14-1. I got to looking earlier, knocked off 7 ranked teams during that stretch. Impressive season. Central was your 2 team last year. Heritage 3. Sonoraville was your 4. What do you think about the 1 team this year, man? What are you looking at on that 7-4A side?
Well, I believe Cedartown is poised for another championship in that region. I don't see it being too close. I think the second seed, I think Central has enough talent to finish second. I really like the running back and quarterback combo coming back at Central. But man, just when you think Cedartown is going to lose this and lose that, it's just more back there, man. I remember back in the spring watching some of the highlights and some of the stuff that we talked about, and it's just they got dudes. They still got dudes. And in that offense, you got 4 or 5 guys and you got a good offensive line, man. They're going to come from everywhere, and they're going to be able to run the ball. I'm sure they'll find somebody that can – I don't know if they're going to find another, battering ram like they had last year, but they'll find somebody who can run it up the middle and get those other guys on the edge. And, play action pass, I felt like every time I watched them live, it was almost like every pass play they ran was wide open. And I think it's because their running game is so good, and you got to respect it. And you just get ran right by. You got the wing going right down the field or just running a little out route and catching it going 80 yards. It's just great football games last year. Every game I watched at Cedartown was a heck of a game.
Yeah, I know when I got to looking at some of the stats, getting ready for the show, they lose 3,700 yards in offense. They lose Eli Barrow off the defense. And you think to yourself, how in the world can they be better or even the same, losing that much production? But, I went out there earlier in the spring and saw them, man. And, I went out there thinking, all right, I'm just going to see a bunch of average high school kids out here in the rebuilding. Dude, they got dudes all over the field, man. I'm sure everybody knows Tay Harris, UGA commit already.
Yeah.
Rising junior. Heck of an athlete. But they got guys that look just like him all over the field. Like I said, and they the closest anybody got to them last year in 7-4A play was 32 points, and that was at Central. I think they beat everybody else by 35 plus. I think it might be. I think it might be a little closer this year.
Closer, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, but I don't think it's going to be close enough to warrant any kind of stumble.
Yeah, I think a lot of those games last year were 42-point wins, but I think that was usually by halftime in most cases.
Yeah, I don't want to say backing into victories, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
kind of throttling down and playing nice.
Yeah, you figure a lot of young guys got a lot of playing time last year, so they'll have some experience going in. That's for sure. But yes, we both agree. Cedartown Bulldogs, your number 1 team in 7-4A. You kind of hit on your number 2 team.
Yeah, I think my number 2 team, just looking down through there now, don't get me wrong. I think there's some teams that will compete, and I think there's going to be some heck of a games. Central Heritage, Central Northwest, Central Sonoraville. You know, with Sonoraville's ability, I think they're to move the ball is going to be really good. You know, shoot, I just like Central. I like the running back QB combo, returning, and I think they're going to have just enough to finish in that second spot and host a playoff game.
Yeah, you know, I got to looking. There's only two teams in 7-4A that bring their quarterbacks back. You know, and that's always huge. You know, when I look at this preseason stuff, that's the first position I look at is the quarterback. You got Powell at Central and Jackson Pate at Sonoraville.
Yep.
Everybody else is breaking somebody new in. You mentioned the back, Walton, 1,700 yards last year as a freshman. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions at number 2. But like you said, it's going to be close, man. I think if you go back and look at last year's results, you'll see what Central beat Northwest maybe by 1, Sonoraville by 1. Everybody was beating everybody by just a handful of points. And I think it's going to be the same way this year.
We got a shout out coming across. Don't be sleeping. Don't be sleeping on the Murray County Indians, they say. Number 52, Braden Thomason. We'll keep an eye out for him. I'll see him at least once this year, I know.
Yeah, you guys host Murray County, or you guys go to Murray County?
Should be hosting Murray this year because last year we went to Murray, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll have our 2A show coming up next. It'll be on, you know, hopefully by the end of this week or early next week. We'll talk a little bit about the Murray County Indians and all those other teams over there in 7-2A. But on to our number 3 team, man. Who is the number 3 team in 7-4A?
Man, I'm going to have to look at my messages that I sent you because I'm going to be honest with you. It's so close. You know, I went with Sonoraville. And I think it's because experience at quarterback, that means a lot to me. And I've seen the kid play, and he can get outside and move the ball with his feet. He can throw the ball with his arm. He's got people to throw it to, you know, and I think their defense is always stingy. So I like Sonoraville in the 3rd spot there. And I think that Sonoraville Central game is going to be a battle.
Yeah, I think it is at Sonoraville this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think they played at Central last year in a barn burner.
Turn it up in the furnace.
Turn it up in the furnace. Yeah, I went with Sonoraville also, man. Pate coming back for his 3rd year as a starter, over 2,400 yards last year. Kid's a winner. I saw some clips that Jake West took this summer, man. Looked like he's gained some weight, muscle. I heard they had a pretty good receiving core. Keegan Townsend, second leading receiver, coming back. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Phoenix at number 3.
I like it.
Now, who you like sliding into that final playoff spot?
Man, I tell you, Northwest loses a big time QB that they've had for, it seems like, forever. But man, I like their receiving game, and I think they're going to be able to step somebody in there that can get Hudson Gray into the ball. I like watching Hudson Gray work. I mean, his footwork. He reminds me a lot of Ladd McConkey at Georgia, and everybody's going to make that comparison. I know he's probably heard it a million times, but to me, that's not a bad comparison. I mean, the dude's probably going to be Pro Football Focus has him as a top 10 receiver in the draft next year. And what is he, 5'7", 5'8"? Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry if I'm butchering his size, but he's not the biggest of fella, but played through injury last year. And this guy, I think, has that same motor, that same drive. And I like him, and there's another couple of receivers there, and I think they'll have enough on the line of scrimmage, and they'll be good enough at quarterback play that they'll get the 4 seed.
It's funny you actually say that about Hudson Gray and Ladd McConkey, man, because I was driving home from work this morning, and I was thinking about, the show tonight. I'm like, man, I should probably bring that up, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to compare them. I don't want to get that started. I love watching Hudson Gray play. He's smooth. I mean, like I said, great route runner, good hands, great kid. Doing this, I try not to become fans of individual players, man, but I'm a big Hudson Gray fan.
I would have to agree with you. I would have to agree. I I like watching him work.
Yeah, and I know Central has Max Owens, 6'3" wide receiver themselves. I just think that they lost not Central, but Heritage.
Yeah.
I just think they lost so many seniors last year. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Trevelyan, he's gone, right? Bryce Trevelyan, he's gone, along with a couple others. Man, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know a lot about Heritage. I don't know what they're going to have. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I haven't heard a lot about them this offseason. So if anybody on here wants to put Heritage in there, I can't blame them. I just can't. Right now, I'd put Northwest at the 4 seed.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm going Northwest at the number 4. The only thing I know about Heritage for sure right now is week 1. I'm going to be there watching Heritage and Ringo. First time I've ever seen that matchup. They say it's crazy. Wow.
Is it at Heritage?
It is at Heritage.
Yeah, the Indians played at Heritage a few years ago, but I think it was an early game of the season, and I was unfortunately out of town for that one. So I've never been to Heritage High School. So I hear it's super nice.
It's actually one of my favorite stadiums to go to. I know my wife likes it a lot, man. She's more into the stadiums than I am, but great atmosphere. I mean, it's almost like a little college campus.
Cool. I'll eventually get up there. I know I will.
Yeah, I know it's boring for the viewers, man, but we all agree here. We had the same 4. Cedartown, Central, Sonoraville, and Northwest Whitfield are our 4 picks for 7-4A. And you talk about playoffs, just off the top of our head here, 7-4A will match up with Region 6 in the first round of the playoffs. And right now, as it stands, Holy Innocents, Stevenson, Westminster, and Hateville Charter are your 4 teams over there that they predict to make the playoffs. And all 4 of them pretty stout.
Yeah, I would say, it's not, I wouldn't call it murderer's row, but it's in the dugout, or, it's close. It's close. Tough. It'll be tough.
All right, man, let's move on to 6 AAA. Last year, Daresville Tigers won their first region title in quite some time, 20 years plus. They had Battle Calhoun for all those years. Ringgold, Bremen, and Coahulla Creek were your 4 teams last year that made the playoffs. Who do you see as the number 1 in 2023?
Man, when you look at the teams and you look at what people's bringing back, there's a couple teams I think that are going to have some big pushes this year, and a couple that I think may have some slight drop-offs because of graduation or what for. But the drop-off teams are not going to include a Daresville. I think when you got your quarterback coming back, you do lose some skill there, but I like the running back. I like the ability to get the ball to him. I like the line of scrimmage. Got some big guys there.
Bobby Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Bobby. I was going to say Bobby Campbell. There's a couple others too that I've seen that are real big guys that can just move people, and I think that's going to give some of these other teams problems. I think running back Bloom there is going to have a huge year, and I like a Daresville to repeat. I'm not sure how long it's been since they've had back-to-back region titles, but
it's been a long time, I'm sure.
I'm picking them.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. I'm going with the Daresville for all the reasons you said. Coach Cudd did a great job over there in his rookie season. Bloom, he had over 1,700 yards last year as the RB2. He'll get most of the carries this year. I think he goes well over 2,000. I'm going to take the Tigers in that number 1 spot. Hey, and the name to watch on the Daresville Tigers is Marion Pullum, man. He rising junior, saw him a couple of camps this summer. He's going to be a real good player going forward for the Tigers. Who do you like in that 2 spot, man, to get the other home playoff game in 6 AAA?
I really debated. I debated on this pretty good because I feel like there's a few teams. I feel like there's a lot of teams in this region that are going to battle for it. The next 3 spots, to be honest with you. Um, you know, when I hashed it out, I went with Ringo. I feel like Ringo has a lot of positives going for him. I like the new the head coach that they got. They got a facelift on their stadium. I feel like they just got a lot of things going in the right direction. I think their offense is going to be pretty good, and I think Ringo gets the second spot and host in the playoffs.
Yeah, you kind of hit on it, man. I was talking to the LFO coaches this summer at 7-on-7, and I was completely honest when I told them that any team in this region can make the playoffs. I think any team from 2 to 6, 2 to 7, every how many teams in the region are pretty much even from here on out. And but yeah, I went with the Ringo Tigers at the number 2 spot. Bring back a lot of players on defense. I love Bryce Hart. I can't wait to see him in person. On film, man, he looks like a monster at linebacker. I think he's just a junior this year too, man. He's a beast. Hayden Fries, a little sophomore. Dude's about 5'8". Looks like he weighs like 250. Can fly. Just muscled up like crazy. Curious to see who they have at quarterback this year, though. I guess that's a big question mark when it comes to them is who's going to step back there and play quarterback. Coach Crisp, you mentioned him. He's done a great job this offseason. Yeah, Ringo Tigers, number 2. Who you like sliding into that 3 spot?
3 spot. I'm looking back at my list because, like I said, there could be a bunch of different options here. I kind of battle back and forth between 3 teams here at the 3 spot. Between Lafayette, Gordon Lee, Bremen was on that next cut for me, and I like Bremen, but I have a feeling, this is a gut feeling, and maybe this might be just what I ate for lunch or something, but I'm going to go Gordon Lee at the 3 spot. I think Gordon Lee has some young talent that's going to surprise some folks. If you go back and look last year, as the season went on, man, they improved tremendously. They battled with some folks, and I think they're building on that. And I think Gordon Lee has a playoff type season this year, and I'm picking him as the 3rd seed.
Yeah, I like Gordon Lee when I saw him, on tape that you had from the 2 game in the spring. Like I said, a lot of young players. Gross, he looks like he's going to be a real good ball player. I'm going with the experience, though, man. The coaching can continue with the Bremen. A lot of seniors coming back. Jonah Hatchett, Ironman Player of the Year last year for the Blue Devils. Trent McPherson. I like Bremen. If you go back and look at 2022, the last 2 weeks of the season, they came within 14 points of beating Ringgold and Adairsville. And I like the Blue Devils in that 3 spot. Who do you have sliding into that last playoff spot?
So the last playoff spot is another team that I feel like has been playing up. This is one of the teams that has gave Rockmart a little run not too long ago at the end of the season. I like the Lafayette Ramblers. They have, probably, I think Pendergrass is going to be a quarterback, and you got Finley at running back, and you got a pretty good size offensive line. And you were telling me about a tight end that's emerged there.
Thompson
getting some offers there. I think they're going to be enough. They're going to pull into that 4th spot and 2, 3, 4. Not that I don't want to disrespect Bremen because I think they have a great program and I think they could be right there too. It's just I'm going to go with Lafayette at 4.
Yeah, Color Creek. I think LFO. I think they'll be competitive this year. Ridgeland.
Yeah,
I think they'll be improved. But yeah, your number 4 spot, man. I agree with you, Lafayette. I watched that spring game when they went up to North Murray. I thought they played well. The Pendergrass looked good at quarterback. I think this might be his first year at quarterback, man. So he's just learning, and yeah, I think they'll be ready. Finley, I think the key is Finley has to stay healthy. You know.
Yeah, I think he's fully healthy off the injury from last year, and he's a difference maker. What's up, Aaron? Chris, it's that time again.
Pick'em champ, our
There
patron
he
pick'em
is.
champ from
He's
last year. There
checking
he is.
in.
He's ready.
Checking in.
Yeah, so you know, 6 AAA will play 7 AAA in the playoffs, which contains a couple of our local teams, Gilmer and Pickens. So this will kind of be neat to see where we think 6 AAA will match up 7 AAA in the playoffs. Who do you have at number 1 over there in 7 AAA?
You know, this is one of those regions that we don't get to see day in and day out. You know, we might see some things on Twitter, Facebook, just straight up YouTube, any place that we can see. You know, I've talked to I think Jake's seen a couple of these teams, maybe even Fannin seen a couple of these teams with Tim over there and RJ. But I like Dawson County. I think Dawson County is projected to win the region. I think they're projected like something around 8-2 total. And I think Dawson is going to win that region over there.
Yeah, I have to
I've
agree.
actually been to Dawson County before.
Dawsonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would put Lafayette heading over to Dawsonville first round. That'd actually be a pretty good game.
I think it would be.
Number 2. Who's number 2 projected over there? 7 3A.
Projected number 2 is Westland at 7-3. And I would think that Westland would agree that they kind of underproduced the last year, maybe the year before. You know, I'm not talking bad about anybody, but I think Westland is going to come back this year and have a better year. I think they're going to finish somewhere close to that 7-3 mark and have a home playoff game.
Yeah, I tell you the thing I like about Westland. I know high school football, it takes more than one player. But if you got a wide receiver whose brother plays for the Carolina Panthers, you're probably pretty good, you know? But yeah, I'll take them in the 2 spot. And that would put Gordon Lee or Bremen heading to Wesleyan first round. Number 3.
Number 3, the projected number 3 is White County. Has White County going 6-4. I don't know a lot about White County.
Yeah, I'm going with the surprise team from 2022, man. Lumpkin County Indians. I'll pencil them in at the 3 spot. That would put them coming to Ringgold round 1.
I think that could be an interesting game.
Now, 4 is the most interesting spot over there instead of AAA because I think our 2 teams that we do follow, Pickens and Gilmer, are going to fight for that spot.
Yeah, I think they'll be fighting for the spot, but I personally, I think I have Lumpkin. I have Lumpkin in that 4 spot, and the prediction pages have Lumpkin in the 4 spot as well. I mean, I know you can't always go by that. Hell,
Yeah.
half the time you can't go by that, but
yeah, I got the Gilmer Bobcats penciled in at number 4. You know, I did that little playoff post last week, and you know, it's been 7 or 8 years since they've been to the postseason. I think they break that streak this year. Speaking of that, man, I don't know if you read that post, but if you didn't, I'm gonna give you a trivia question.
I saw it, but I didn't go read it.
Longest playoff drought in Northwest Georgia is who? 24 years. It's been since 1999 since they made the playoffs.
We're talking all classifications, right?
All classifications.
I hate for this to be the first name to come out because I don't want to talk like they're down. But Woodland. Oh,
Woodland, 1999.
Man, I can't believe I actually got that. I promise
Man,
I didn't read it.
they've been battling big dogs, man, every year, and now they're
Big
stuck in
school.
there with Calhoun and Cartersville and Hiram and
No favors
Dalton.
for them.
They could be the sixth best team in the state and miss the playoffs.
That reminds me of the old days back when you had Calhoun and Coosa was dominant. Darlington was good. Pepperell was there. In that 6AA region back in 2A back in the day when Chattooga played that was tough. That was tough regions.
Yeah, when I was putting the post together, I was trying to figure out when the last time they won a region title was also, and I came across these schools. I was like, man, some of these schools haven't won region titles in 20 years. Then I got to thinking they were all playing Calhoun every year,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Calhoun. I think they started in single A way back in the day, and then they just kind of moved up as it went. They've
Yeah.
dominated. There's no
Speaking of
doubt about
streaks, if they make the playoffs this year, man, that's 24 consecutive postseason appearances for Calhoun.
it. I think you can write it down. Don't you believe?
I believe. But yeah, guys, that concludes our 4A AAA show. We still got 2A and single A on tap, man. Looking forward to that 2A show. That's going to be a good one. I know you'll have a lot of insight about them Chattooga Indians.
Yeah.
I have to get out my abacus, man. Start figuring out who's going to do what. Oh, well, that's the single A show. I keep forgetting single A.
Yeah. 2A is
they aren't 2A anymore, are they?
No, they've dropped down. Yeah, 2A is going to put you in the Fannin, Rockmart, North Murray, that region there.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good region in its own right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the single A region now, and
single A.
Back in the day, it was you had Pepperell, Adairsville. That was the old 6AA back in the day. You had Rockmart, Model, Darlington, Calhoun, Adairsville, Pepperell, Coosa, and all these teams were fairly good.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to do the split region, and only 2 teams from each side come. That was horrific, if you ask me, because you had some good teams that didn't get a shot. But all right, so like we said at the very first, next week, 2 weeks from Friday, will be the first scrimmage games, August 4th. A bunch of our teams from our area will be scrimmaging. So,
yeah, Ben's put together a list for me. I'm gonna try to get it on the webpage here this weekend. Finally off for 7 days, so I can get that taken care of and try to list all the games going on that first 2 weeks.
Yeah, the first scrimmage week, like I said, is August 4th. Right now, I have Coosa at Ringo. Armurchie will be at Christian Heritage. Rockmart at Bremen. Temple at Mount Zion. And if you have a game on that day and I didn't call you out, go ahead and send it to us, and we'll get it on our list. 8-10 is Cass at Cedartown, and then Soddy Daisy versus Ringo at Finley Stadium.
Yeah,
so Ringo was going to Finley Stadium to play. I've had the experience when I was in high school going to Finley and playing in that preseason game. That was some of the first exposure for Mr. Sonoris Perry up there when he was a youngin', letting him loose as a freshman up there against, I believe we were playing Ringo in that scrimmage. And then the following week, 8-11, most teams, if they're playing a scrimmage, have the scrimmages start. Gordon Lee's at Coosa, Dade at LFO, Chattooga's at Ridgeland, Adairsville's at Trine. That's the one to open your eye about and look at that one. Murray County's at Southeast, and then Fannin is at Stevens County that day. So a lot of good scrimmages, and then we'll hit the regular season before you know it.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be about 75 degrees by then. How you think?
It never happens. Never happens that way. It'll be 95.
Yeah. All right, man.
For half the season.
We'll see you guys next week.